Welcome to another episode of the Antifragility Reframe podcast, where struggles become strength and stress fuels growth. I'm Dr. Frank L. Douglas, your host, and my guest today is Mr. Mathias Lemos Castillo. He is a consultant, a change maker, and he likes to say, and a troublemaker. He actually helps individuals and organizations navigate complex problems and help to come to solutions, particularly solutions that impact communities. Mr. Castillo, welcome.
Dr. Douglas, thank you for the time. To the audience, thank you for tuning in. And troublemaker, I mean in a good way, the best ways, there's always good trouble and bad trouble. I'm in the good trouble, but
Well, as
sometimes
John
the
Lewis
bad.
said, good trouble.
There you go.
Good trouble. There you
Good
go.
trouble.
Yeah,
It's a
no,
pleasure
it's
to
a
be here.
pleasure to have you. I know the work that you do is very important. I'm an immigrant and you're an immigrant, so I'm sure the work that you do, particularly in immigrant communities, I know you do it in other communities too, but particularly in the immigrant community is extremely important. But give me an idea of your story. What led you to focus on advocacy in this area?
Uh, Love the question right off the bat. With Dr. Douglas,
Could you turn up your volume a bit?
oh, definitely. Here, let
That's
me.
great.
Much
Yes.
better. It's
Yeah,
too
much
low on
better.
my shirt. Uh, as you mentioned, my name is Mathias Lemos Castillo. I was born and raised in Montevideo, Uruguay. And for those that are not familiar with Uruguay, it's a small country right below Brazil to the east of Argentina, roughly 3 million people. Uh, you think about Uruguay, you think about cattle, meat, mate, and of course, with the World Cup next month, soccer.
Mm.
We got lots of fans for the Uruguayan team. That being said, I'm not a soccer player. I moved here to the United States in 2003 to the state of Wisconsin in the Midwest and grew up the majority of my life in, very similarly to Uruguay, farm workers, um, cattle, city life, and cheese and snow, which was very different from Uruguay. And similarly, in some aspects, did my elementary through college, and right after college, studying political science, sociology. I had the wonderful opportunity of working with MIT, the Massachusetts Institute for Technology, on this really cool project nationally, bringing people to the center of conversations, primarily around, race, healthcare, politics, any topic under the sun. It was really fun. We did that for a number of years, and then COVID happened, uh, which didn't allow us to necessarily meet in person. So I started my own business, Mobilize, Listen, and Connect. MLC Consulting. It is my initials, but more of a wordplay on the initials, and really focusing on how do we center human experiences, how do we center, how do we bring people together, listen authentically, and connect those ideas to action. So it's not just the listening, it's really bridging those ideas to impactful actions that impact community and are centered by community. So I like to say I have a very human-centered approach to the work that I do. It was really brought up from in my youth, growing up around diverse communities, around farmers, around people from very different backgrounds. Even in the Midwest, some people think it's very cold, but we're having really powerful conversations. And for me, it was always how do we bring the power of communities to these decisions? Since oftentimes it is that solutions are already in community, so we need to
Could you give
match
us
those.
a sort of an example? Particularly when you talk about, and I agree with you, often the solutions are there, but
Hmm.
it takes someone like yourself to help us recognize that. Could you give us an example of that?
Yeah, I can give a couple of examples right here. Earlier in my career, working with city government, was brought in to connect business owners, primarily Latina business owners and BIPOC business owners, to the city of Madison as the city was annexing a part of the town. So the south side of Madison, now known previously as the town of Madison, was getting annexed. It was a project that was happening that got how would you say, agreed upon in 2003. Didn't happen until 2022. So 20 years later almost, right? These conversations were happening, and it was right at months before the annex happened that they needed someone to engage with the businesses, primarily from the south side of Madison, to know, hey, this is happening. There's going to be changes to the way that you file for the city, right? Because the town and the city were very different in terms of tax codes, in terms of regulations. Let's say alcohol licenses, right? More expensive in a city than in a town. So those changes were going to impact a number of businesses. And my role was really to be able to build that bridge between the individuals, the business owners, the community members too, in the city, and helping them have this conversation and drive, okay, what would be helpful? So come this new date, which was consequently the October 31st, Halloween day, this would not be town of Madison anymore. Same area now it's become south side of Madison, and it's part of the city of Madison. So bigger entity, and making sure that people have that access, the resources, the right tools in place, and essentially everything they need to be set up for success. So I had conversations with over 150 businesses. I had a conversation with community members, letting them know about the change, how they're affected, and then ultimately my role was how do I bridge them to have actual contact in the city. So instead of, having a call
So how
and be
did
like,
they accept the change? Because this is now as we say, we talk about shifting perspectives. Now they really have to shift their perspective from the way they did things before and how they thought about it, into doing it now the way the city does it, so which they've now become a part. Um, how did they accept that, or was there anything that you did that helped them to? You talk about a bridge to cross that bridge.
yeah, since a number of them only spoke Spanish, it was a lot of that work in Spanish, letting folks know, this is happening in a language that's authentic to them, and providing the resources. The annexation was going to happen regardless. So you wouldn't know it. Like I said, October 31st was the last day. It was going to be the town. Starting November 1st, the next day, it would be the same spot, but now it's considered the city of Madison. So if you look at the implication, it means, trash. The day that trash cycle comes by now went from like a Monday to a Wednesday. So you have to make sure you were ready for that. I have one very unique story from a mechanic actually that I used to go to many times. I was in that area of town, and when I walked into his shop and let him know, hey, did you know about these changes? Mind you, Dr. Douglas, he's been in this shop for way before this plan happened. He started it back in the 80s. So when he started it, it was town of Madison, and this plan happened in 2002, as I mentioned, 2003, when the city said we're going to annex this land, and it won't happen until 2022, right? So 40 years later, I come in. He's been in the same spot, always the town of Madison, and he didn't know, hey, this was changing. Almost as if, he was trying to figure out when was the communication done. It's like, well, this was done years ago. So
Mm.
from the city part, it could have it could have been forgotten, or it wasn't addressed in a way that was receptive to the community. And it was the case for various businesses that I talked with. But this mechanic, I had built a relationship. He spoke Spanish. He's very well known in the community. Has always serviced a number of people, and this was a change that if he wasn't already, he would have been affected by the change and had to slow down his work. He's been doing it for 40 years, but he didn't know that suddenly this was going to be City of Madison. My role was to help him inform, make sure that he was up to date, connected with the people, and for him it was things like how is oil or waste from cars being disposed of properly. His trash day was affected. Funny enough, I bring that one because Weekly, it was on Mondays. Now, with the new city code, it was actually going to move it to Wednesdays. So you didn't want to have trash sitting out there in front because you'll get fined from the city, right? So
Uh,
the implications is
mhm.
with the knowledge, you're able to avoid these fines from the city or making sure you're properly following the rules to make sure that the police doesn't come by and say, hey, why do you have these things here? Or why didn't you dispose of your oil property
Mhm.
now that you're on the new roll? Funny enough, there was a police station across the street from the mechanic. That police station closed. And after the annexation, he was wondering, oh, is that part of that change? He's like, yeah, because this police station now is old, doesn't work with the one that is in the
Uh,
city.
mhm.
So they had to close this police station, and right now it's a abandoned building. If I even look back, hopefully it turns into something. But you can see in real time how the community changes because, especially in terms of resources, because of these decisions that were made years ago. And yeah, I think lessons learned is over communicate.
Mm.
Doesn't have to be, you're sending an email every week or every month, but frequently you're saying, hey,
Mm.
this is gonna happen. I'll contrast this project with one that's happening in 2032, so a different side of Madison, northern area. That's gonna get annexed too. So similar stories there, where what you used to file under this code, you're not gonna file in a different code, especially taxes. Property might go up. You want to make sure that people are aware that this is happening. So when it is time to happen, they can decide, do I want to be here or do I need to move somewhere else? Or do I need to change? So what do I need to change to be able to stay here if I want to stay here? I
Mhm.
think those are really important because with this mechanic, for example, he's still there, he's still thriving, he has his business, and he's up to date with all the permits, all the um, you know, the disposing he needs, the waste management, all that, because it was going to impact his business significantly.
Well, thank you, Mr. Castillo. That was really good. We don't think about how these changes affect the small business person. We often don't because of those practical little things, the garbage moving from from Monday to Wednesday. And the
Hmm.
fact that you could be fined because you now have garbage sitting there 2 days where you would not have added that. And we don't think about those little things which really affect the small business person. Thank you for sharing that with us, and you continue to make good trouble.